Good morning, everybody. This is Travis from Carter Cow Capital, helping you fight for your financial freedom throughout the Forex market. This is another episode of Trade with Travis 260. As we go through and be able to take a look at what's happening with the markets, we end up having a pretty big day when it came down to Nas 100. One of the trades that we end up talking about a little bit earlier for being able to get in, as well as a few other pairs. I want to make sure we end up talking about those, plus plenty more as we go through and get through the disclaimer and everything else like that. I'm going to have to take a quick step out. That I believe that if I don't, then my dog is going to try to sit up there and use the bathroom in my house. So let me get everything situated with the. I'm going to get everything situated with the disclaimer, talk about that, and then after that, get the page set up for everyone to be able to show up. If you are watching live, make sure that you end up typing in and saying what's up. Let me know how my sound is, and then after that, we'll kind of go from there and kind of put everything else up from there. So give me one quick second. Um, all right, so here we go. I'm not a CTA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or to sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education, and from the education, you can be able to make your own informed decision. Now, understand that trading involves risk, involves risk of being able to make money, also involves risk of being able to lose money. So please keep that in mind. And understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money yesterday, it's not promised that you're going to end up making money today. So with that being said, as we go through and be able to take a look at the economic charts, please let me know if my sound is good. Like I ended up saying, I'm going to take one quick step out real quick just to be able to make sure that my dog can be able to use the bathroom real quick. But as we go through, obviously, we got a lot of stuff that we got to talk about today as we end up going from there. Uh, BB Business, what's going on? Hope everything's going well with you. Um, but yeah, give me one quick second. I'm gonna open it, have everything set up, and we're gonna get started in a few minutes. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. So okay, sound check, sound check. Want to make sure I'm good. Just let me know if I'm good. Want to make sure I'm good, everybody. Okay, so I'm gonna assume that I'm okay, and we'll kind of go from there. So we have FOMC meeting minutes that's going to end up happening a little bit later on today. Remember, FOMC is going to end up being FOMC is going to end up being Jerome Powell. Turn on that light, baby. Jerome Powell and what he's going to end up saying. We're going to see how that's going to end up kind of affecting the market. Remember, anytime that Jerome Powell ends up speaking, the market ends up moving. So we want to see how everything kind of goes with that. Interested in being able to see how that kind of goes. That's going to end up being the last thing that's going to end up happening today for us, like high impact news. But then after that, obviously Thursday we have a Traders Day, and Friday we have a Traders Day. Uh, Getting right into the last week of February as we go through and kind of take a look at that. So we're going to go right into let's go right into NOS 100. We talked about NOS 100 as a potential trade opportunity to be able to get in. Type in a Y yes if you end up taking that trade. Um, Type in a Y yes if you end up taking that trade based off of what we ended up saying yesterday. If you did, you're talking about right around 200 points when it came down to that movement. And if you did, once again, congratulations to you as we end up hitting take profit when it came down to that position. So I'm going to break down that position. I'm going to break down what ended up happening a little bit earlier. And so if we take a look at this based off of the hourly, we end up saying that at first we would not be interested until the market ended up breaking out of this long-term consolidation. We see that it's basically in yellow. We can see that the market ended up breaking below 12,400. Once it broke below 12,400, initially we ended up placing our stop loss just above the overall high of 12,560. From there, the market ended up breaking down, giving us a very good push, and then after that, it retraced. Yesterday, what we ended up seeing was that the market ended up having a good push, and it retraced again. But when it retraced, we talked about looking at it from a 15-minute perspective. And when you look at it from a 15-minute perspective, we seen that we're basically at the last line of defense when it came down to high volume nodes. And if we talk about that, we're talking about literally this little spot right here. We said that as soon as this market ended up breaking the counter trend line breaking, as long as it stayed below 12,240 at the beginning of the day, we could be able to have a good chance of being able to see the market was going to end up pushing to the downside. And that's exactly what ended up happening. Our take profit for this position was at 12,100. The reason why we said 12,100 is very simply put, if you look at this little low volume area when it comes down to the nodes, if we end up taking advantage of that actual space and that actual gap, then it would have been free money when it came down to that movement. That's exactly what ended up happening. So if you end up taking that trade based off of the counter trend line break that ended up happening that morning, literally you probably got placed into the trade maybe not even an hour after we end up having that alarm that we end up placing in. We can see that the VWAP was down. We can see that the moving average was basically saying that it was ready to sell, and we just took advantage of that overall position. So congratulations to everybody that ended up taking that trade. There's no trade right now in particular that I would be interested in at this particular point when it comes down to this move off of Nas 100. But keep in mind, we go back to the original rules. We break a support, then after that we're going to go to another support. So I believe that the next move is going to end up being down to 12,000, at least 11,860. Currently, right now, we're looking at that when it comes down to that spot. We're looking at another 200 points when it comes down to that movement. Don't be surprised that if we see, or if we end up seeing some type of a U-turn in the 15-minute, just a little bit to be able to give us another opportunity to be able to do so, or we're being very honest, there's a counter trend line break that's actually happening right now that has not been truly confirmed. Well, yeah, it has. It has been truly confirmed, but I would like to be able to see that the hourly is in the sell zone, or the 2 hours in the sell zone when taking that position. Currently, right now, 2 hours in the 2 hour is a little bit oversold. The 1 hour is overbought. we may have an opportunity, but I would probably limp in on this one if you're going to end up making that move. Um, I would like to see what it does a little bit later on today. Um, I think that it might. I think we might end up seeing something like this: down, pop, a little bit of retracement, right before FOMC. We end up having a pop up just because of the news, and then after that, once again, another drop to the downside. Um, but we'll see. We'll see. Who knows? But that's what I'm thinking, at least in the beginning. Okay. All right, cool. But Nas 100, you took that trade yesterday. Congratulations. That was we waited on that one. That's one of those ones to where you got to be a little patient. Um, we waited on it and we ended up doing that. Same thing ended up happening with US 30. Type in a while, yes. If you end up taking a trade on US 30, we end up talking about this one. This is a trade that's 20 days in the making. Congratulations for the people that ended up taking this trade as well. The first one just blew right through it. We ended up talking about taking sales at 33,510, having a stop loss just above the overall swing high, 33,720. From there, we ended up saying the first take profit was going to end up being 33,280. Market ended up finally having that strong push to the downside, end up winning that 200 points very easily. Currently, right now, the market is currently still up on this trade, right around 400 points when it came down to that movement. If you end up taking that trade, congratulations. We ended up taking a couple losses with the market kind of pushing up to the top side. Aside from this one right here, we was able to exit off of that one a little bit faster. But once again, we end up saying once the market ends up making a decision on when it's going to pop, it's going to pop quick. And even though it took us a long time to be able to stay inside of this blue area, we have a strong chance of being able to see this market continue on with this push to the downside, going all the way down to 32,530. Okay, so keep that in mind as we take a look at this movement. I do expect that we're probably going to see a little bit more movement. But remember, I end up saying that first take profit area, or the first area that we truly have to pay attention to, going back to the hourly, we end up being this support right here, which was right around 32,840. 32,840 was the last consolidation high that we end up having that we was in for a very much of a long time. So we just have to wait on that position overall at 32,830 for us to be able to get out. What? No, baby, not right now. All right, so cool. There we go. We'll get off of that. Let's go ahead and go into the big three real quick. This morning may be a very short morning, obviously, just because we got everything that's going on with FOMC. I'm going to talk about Bitcoin because the first thing that popped up. Remember Bitcoin? We end up saying that as soon as it ends up breaking above 25,000, if you have not got in, then you have to be able to start looking at being able to get in because the market's going to go from 25,000 all the way up to 29,000 very quickly. The reason why we said that is because kind of like what we just looked at when it came down to US 30 and NAS 100, we have these free space of unfair market prices right here and right here when it comes down to that movement. And as soon as it ends up breaking above this area again, I think we're going to end up having a large free run when it comes down to that position. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised that with FOMC, we may end up getting some type of good news that may end up pushing the market up just slightly. But I would say overall, I think that the market is going to end up ultimately falling, at least for the short term, and then after that, kind of push back up. But I do like the one thing that I do like to see is that the market is kind of staying above this overall high, or staying above this overall consolidation resistance right here. If that does happen, then after that, we're talking about a major move to the upside at some point. Okay, so there we go. Bitcoin is very simple. We're going to wait and kind of see what happens with that. Another one that we've been waiting on has been oil. Oil still inside of consolidation. It fell a little bit because of retail sales yesterday with the Canadian dollar. But currently, right now, the market is still inside this overall green area. As long as it stays inside this green area, you only got a 33% chance of being able to win. I'm not interested in being able to do that. We're still inside of a long-term consolidation as well inside of this yellow box. So nothing to be able to do when it comes down to that. United States dollar index. United States dollar index finally ended up breaking above. Well, let's go back through this. It broke above 12,757, which was our first move. It broke that move, retested twice, right here and right here, and then after that started to push back up. Since then, it broke above 12,864. As long as it breaks above 12,864, then after that, we got a good chance of being able to see this thing push up to 12,960. Remember, when the market breaks a resistance, it's going to end up going to find another resistance. So this orange area right here is going to be the next area where the market is going to end up going. We'll take a look at that from a 2 hour perspective. We can see that there's a full counter trend line break. But the thing is, we're running out of loose momentum when it comes down to this. The market's in the sell zone, so I do expect that the market's probably going to fall this morning, and then after that, see if it's going to push back up a little bit later on when it comes down to FOMC meeting minutes. Keep this in mind. Here's my rules when it comes down to FOMC. I always say that you need to wait the first 15 minutes before you end up getting into any type of trade. Watch the market move. Watch the market kind of put itself into its place. Once it ends up figuring out what direction it's going to end up going, then after that, make your move when it comes down to the overall idea of what you think it's going to end up doing. Even though the market is bullish right now, doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to end up being bullish throughout the day. And also remember that we're inside a consolidation area. So even though we did break inside, we could see a little bit of slow movement because we end up having a high impact news that's going to end up affecting the market a little bit later on today. So currently right now, US dollar index, even though it is considered to be bullish, I'm still not going to make a move on it. We took good profit yesterday when it came down to NAS 100 to US 30. So I'm actually kind of happy about that. We'll see how everything kind of moves from there. Speaking of that, this will be a good time to be able to talk about what's happening with. It'd be a good time to be able to talk about what's been happening with our overall pairs and kind of looking at our overall portfolio when it comes down to everything inside of this movement. Currently, right now, based off of the VRTX movement, we're still up 86%. DAX, we're up 86%. When it comes down to NAS 100, we're up 43%. The Boss Band indices, we take a look at those. We're up 73%. That's the biggest mover right now currently, which is very cool. And being able to see how well this thing's been doing it. Overall, for the last 3 months, we've still been very positive when it comes down to this movement. The thing is, we're just being patient. As long as we be patient, everything else will take care of itself, like always. Super happy about that overall. And thanks everybody that's been paying attention to that. Thanks everybody for the overall ideas and everything else like that. It's really been helping out everybody when it comes down to trading. So, very simply put, let's talk about just the game plan for today. One, we have high impact news that's going to happen at 1 o'clock. Keep that in mind, or at 1:30. Keep that in mind as the market is going to end up kind of going from there. We had the big break from yesterday. We finally ended up having this move kind of break out of this overall position. We're making that trade. We're kind of staying in that area. Just be patient as the market kind of makes its decision on what's happening overall. You do have a selling opportunity right here. If you're going to take the selling opportunity, it's a whole different thing. Remember, if you do this, I would say limp in 1% of the account, or maybe even 0.5% of the account, especially early in the morning. If we do get continuation when it comes down to that movement, then after that, look at being able to continue with the trade. If not, then let's be patient and leave that alone. Just be patient, and then after that, kind of go from there. If you like what I end up doing, please make sure that you end up liking the Carter Capital business page and the Trading View page. Click on that boost button. For the people that are on YouTube, thanks for being able to watch. Obviously, y'all end up getting that a little bit later on when it comes down to recordings. We'll talk a little bit later on tomorrow as we end up seeing what's going on with the market. And CMG, you sent that to me as a text. If you did, then I send everything over to you a little bit later on this morning. I have everything fixed and ready to go for you. All right, everybody, plan your trade your plan. See each and every one of y'all a little bit later on. Take it easy.